What if I told you that the real risk isn't losing trades? It's wasting your life in a career that kills your spirit. That's where Andrew Aziz begins. He walked away from academia, gave up the corporate safety net, and stepped into the fire of day trading. You're probably here because you feel that same itch, the pull toward freedom, the desire to control your time, your energy, your potential. But here's the wake up. Aziz didn't walk out of a six-figure job because trading was easy. He did it because living safe was killing him. In How to Day Trade for a Living, Aziz opens with the harsh truth. This isn't about fantasy income or laptop lifestyle illusions. It's about choosing uncertainty over comfort. He left a prestigious PhD track, said goodbye to the identity of stability, and started over with nothing but a laptop, a trading account, and a desire to win on his own terms. That's the first lesson. Trading isn't about money. It's about freedom. And freedom comes with responsibility. No boss, no backup, no salary, just the market and your performance. Most people say they want that. Very few actually take the leap. Aziz did, but not without cost. He describes his early days with brutal honesty. The emotional roller coaster, the temptation to revenge trade, the panic of watching capital evaporate, the fear of failure when no paycheck is coming. This isn't romantic. It's real, and it's why 90% of traders don't last. But Aziz didn't quit. He learned, he adapted, he studied the tape like his life depended on it, because it did. And that's your first wake-up call. You're not just learning a skill. You're rewiring your psychology, your identity, your relationship with risk. You're stepping into a world where every decision you make reflects your internal state. Have you ever hit buy just because you felt like you were missing out? Held a loser because you couldn't face being wrong? That's not strategy. That's emotion. And emotion, left unchecked, will eat your capital. Aziz faced that fast, and it forced him to create structure, because the only way to survive this game is with discipline. And that starts with treating trading like a business, not a lottery. He began building routines, pre-market planning, trade logs, risk parameters. He studied his own behavior as much as he studied the market. And that's when everything started to change. That's the journey you're beginning. And it starts by killing the fantasy. You're not here to get rich quick. You're here to get skilled slowly, to build the kind of decision-making that makes consistency possible, to take full ownership of your outcomes, win or lose. Aziz took that leap, and he invites you to do the same. But not blindly, because this book isn't about motivation, it's about method. And before you touch a trade, you need to understand what day trading actually demands. That's what's coming next. Day trading is not passive income, nor is it casual work. You're about to discover what day trading really requires: focus, speed, preparation, and the mindset of an athlete under pressure. You're not waking up late, checking charts in your pajamas, and clicking a few buttons to print cash. That's YouTube fantasy. What Aziz shows you is the real job: getting up before dawn, scanning headlines, building watch lists, rehearsing setups, and preparing mentally for a performance under stress. This is not part-time work. It's not passive income. It's active execution. It's full mental engagement for 2 to 3 intense hours that determine everything. And if you're distracted, undisciplined, disorganized, the market will remind you instantly. Aziz compares day trading to professional sports. You've got to warm up. You've got to study your opponent, the market, the tickers, the catalysts. You've got to know your plays before the opening bell rings. And once it does, you react with precision or you don't play at all. This means preparation isn't optional. It's your first edge. If you're showing up 5 minutes before the open, guessing your plan, you're already behind. He shares how each morning he checks his scanners, reads pre-market news, evaluates gappers, filters tickers based on volume, volatility, and float. Every single day. No exceptions. That's the discipline. And when you internalize that, when you stop asking what's the best stock today and start asking what's my plan for the open, you start trading like a professional. You don't need a PhD to day trade, but you do need process. Aziz didn't come from Wall Street. He came from the academic world. And that analytical mindset, testing, documenting, refining, became his secret weapon. He studied market structure like a scientist. He built rules like an engineer, and he executed them like a soldier. That's the trifecta. And here's the next big truth. Trading is simple, but it's not easy. You'll deal with speed, fast-moving price action, sudden reversals. You'll face uncertainty. No setup is guaranteed. You'll feel pressure. The money is real, the losses sting, and the feedback is immediate. So why do it? Because if you can master yourself, day trading offers something most jobs never will: freedom through performance. You're not getting paid for time, you're getting paid for precision. And that shift changes everything. But first, you must accept this. Trading will expose everything you're weak at: your need for certainty, your fear of loss, your ego when you're right, your panic when you're wrong. It brings it all to the surface. And that's the work. Aziz emphasizes that most failures don't come from poor strategy. They come from poor execution caused by emotional instability, lack of preparation, or just plain laziness. He didn't start perfect. He admits to overtrading, forcing setups, ignoring stops, and he paid the price. But he also learned fast and documented every mistake, because what you don't measure, you can't improve. So ask yourself, are you prepared to treat this like a profession? Will you journal every trade? Will you stick to a routine? Will you show up even when you're tired, when you're scared, when you're doubting everything? That's what it takes. Because the money doesn't come from having the best strategy. It comes from executing a good strategy with flawless consistency. That's what you build in the next chapter. You don't just need mindset. You need tools, your battlefield, your cockpit, your interface with the market. And that's where we go next. You wouldn't enter a boxing ring blindfolded. So why would you day trade without mastering your platform? Aziz shows you the tools of battle, your broker, charts, scanners, and hotkeys, and how to build a workspace that supports speed and control. If you think the tools don't matter, you've already lost. Because in day trading, milliseconds count. Your edge is not just your setup, it's your speed. And speed doesn't come from adrenaline, it comes from design, from preparation, from knowing where every button is, what every signal means, and what to do the moment your setup appears. Aziz lays out a full command center, not for show, but for performance. Your broker, it must be fast, reliable, with hotkey functionality and low latency. Your charting software, clean, minimal lag, customizable. Your scanner, tailored to your strategy, pre-market gainers, volume spikes, float filters. Your hotkeys, mapped, rehearsed, burned into muscle memory. Every second counts. If you're clicking around manually, hesitating to type order size, scrolling for stop loss, by the time you react, the move is gone. Worse, you're chasing, or entering late, or missing exits. The market doesn't wait for you to find your button. Aziz emphasizes hotkeys for a reason. They're not optional. They're your edge. Imagine slamming the ask at a breakout level with one keystroke. Imagine stopping out with zero delay, no confirmation box, no mouse fumbling. That's how professionals operate. You need to train your environment to match your brain under pressure, because your brain will freeze. Your hands will shake, and in those moments, your tools must carry you. He even details his exact layout: 3 monitors, level 2 data on the side, time and sales in view, chart center, scanners left. But it's not about copying him. It's about building your own cockpit, intentionally. And yes, it takes time. You'll tweak, you'll overcomplicate, then you'll strip it back. That's part of the process. But here's the principle. Everything on your screen should have a reason to exist. If it doesn't add clarity, it adds confusion, and confusion kills trades. Your setup isn't just for entering, it's for monitoring. The level 2 window shows you order flow, time and sales reveals who's stepping in, volume bars show participation, and your chart confirms it all. Ignore these at your peril. Because your job isn't to guess, your job is to react cleanly, confidently, without hesitation. Aziz recommends starting with platforms like Das Trader Pro, not because they're pretty, but because they're functional. They're built for execution, and you're not here to browse, you're here to perform. You also need a reliable news source: Benzinga, trade ideas, Twitter feeds, filtered, not flooded, because headlines move markets, especially in small caps. And you don't want to be caught off guard. So how do you build your setup? Start with your strategy. Are you trading opening range breakouts? You need a clean 1-minute chart, level 2, and a pre-market scanner. Are you trading VWAP pullbacks? Add a 5-minute chart and volume study. Match your tools to your edge. Next, practice your hotkeys. Not once, daily. Build the reflex. Aziz often runs simulations just to rehearse order flow. That's how you trade under pressure, by turning movement into memory. Then, journal your environment. What helped you enter clean? What caused hesitation? What needs to be moved, simplified, or removed? Trading is a performance art, and your tools are your instruments. Tune them, maintain them, trust them. Because when the bell rings at 9:30 and the first candle rips, you won't have time to think. You'll only have time to act, and that's what your tools are for. Next, you learn how to prepare the day before the market opens. Because winning trades don't start on the chart, they start in the pre-market plan. Aziz's edge doesn't begin at 9:30. It starts hours earlier. You'll learn how real traders win the day before the market even opens, with watch lists, gap scans, catalyst checks, and routines that prime your mindset for execution. You've been told trading starts at the open. That's a lie. By 9:30, the professionals are already executing. Their prep is done. Their plans are locked. They're not asking, what should I trade today? They know. Aziz drills this in hard. His process starts at 6 a.m., not because he's trying to be productive, but because the edge is there, in silence, in structure, before the chaos begins. You start with the gap scanner. Who's up, who's down, who's moving on volume. But you're not just filtering for percent gain, you're filtering for context. Float size, pre-market volume, news catalyst, technical structure. You're asking, is this move tradable? Aziz focuses on low float stocks with real volume and strong catalysts. Earnings beats, FDA approvals, M&A news, real movement. Because without volume, price action is a trap. Without a catalyst, the breakout is a fake out. From that list, he narrows to 2 or 3 tickers. That's the key, not 10 charts, not scattered setups, a clean, tight watch list with pre-drawn levels, clear game plans. Have you ever watched a stock spike while you scrambled to find a chart? That's the symptom of no prep, no edge. You were reactive, not ready. Aziz avoids that with intentional pre-market prep. He marks support, resistance, pre-market highs and lows. He identifies potential entry triggers before the bell rings. So when the market opens, he's not guessing, he's waiting. This is where professional trading lives, in the preparation, not the prediction. Your job isn't to predict what a stock will do. Your job is to prepare if it does. And that mindset frees you. It removes pressure. It gives you structure. It allows you to say, if this level breaks, I trade. If it doesn't, I wait. That's edge. He also emphasizes scanning for volume leaders, not just movers, but stocks with real participation. Because when volume flows, opportunity follows. Thin tickers? Avoid. Spready names? Avoid. You're here for liquidity, clean fills, tight spreads. And here's the emotional edge. Preparation calms you. It grounds your brain. It gives you a plan when fear spikes and FOMO tempts you. That's why Aziz is ruthless about his morning routine. He also preps his mind. No phone, no social media, just quiet review, charts, plans, mental rehearsal. Because the biggest mistake traders make is trying to get ready after the bell. That's too late. You're already in survival mode. You want to perform like a sniper? Then set up like a sniper. Target chosen, win measured, breath aligned. Then you wait for the trigger. Aziz teaches that mindset, structured calm, clear focus, no rush, and yes, it's boring. But trading isn't about excitement, it's about execution. So here's your action. Build a pre-market checklist, gap scan, catalyst read, volume check, technical levels, mental plan. Write it down, repeat it daily. Then journal your prep versus your performance. Were you aligned or winging it? Because the best trades don't happen by luck, they happen by design. And now that you're prepared, you're ready to execute. So next, you learn how to trade, the core strategies Aziz uses daily, the patterns, the triggers, the setups. Because prep is the plan, but execution is where you get paid. You don't need 50 strategies, you need one you can master. Aziz shares the few setups that work consistently, including the opening range breakout, ABCD pattern, and VWAP pullback. Simple setups, clear rules, executed with discipline. You've probably downloaded dozens of strategies. You've jumped from breakout to scalp, from reversal to momentum, wondering why none of them stick. Here's why. The problem isn't your strategy. The problem is your execution. Aziz doesn't overwhelm you with noise. He teaches you how to own a few core patterns, deeply. Trade them like a specialist, not a tourist. Let's start with the opening range breakout, ORB. It's simple. You identify the high and low of the first 5 to 15 minutes. If price breaks out of that range on volume, and aligns with your thesis, you enter. Tight stop. Defined risk. This setup works because the opening range reveals market psychology. It's the battleground. Buyers and sellers establish dominance. Your job? React with clarity, not hope. Then comes the ABCD pattern. Classic structure, strong morning move, midday consolidation, higher low forms. Breakout triggers the D point. It's not magical. It's about timing. Let the setup mature. Let volume confirm. Don't chase. React. And the VWAP pullback? That's your trend confirmation tool. Price spikes above VWAP, pulls back, holds support, bounces on volume. You enter on confirmation, not guesswork. VWAP acts as a magnet, a mean reversion level, and a bias filter. But here's the thing, none of these setups work if you don't follow rules. Every strategy Aziz teaches comes with criteria. Volume must support the move. Candlestick structure must confirm strength. Entry and exit must be predefined. Stop loss must be honored. No debate, no negotiation. He gives examples where traders get trapped chasing ABCD setups without volume, or buying VWAP holds without confirmation. And those mistakes? They cost. Because these patterns aren't secrets, they're frameworks, and frameworks only work when paired with discipline. Aziz journals every trade. He reviews the pattern, the entry reason, the exit decision. That's how you build precision. That's how you learn not just what works, but why it worked. And here's where most traders fail. They don't execute the same setup the same way, twice in a row. You've done it. You enter late. You size too big. You move your stop. Suddenly, it's not a strategy, it's a hope trade. Aziz fights this with simplicity. One setup, one execution model, one decision tree. That's what makes you dangerous. Because when you know exactly what you're looking for, you stop chasing. You start waiting. And waiting is where your edge lives. He even recommends new traders pick just one setup. Trade it for 30-50 days. Log every execution. Refine. Repeat. That's how you learn what real edge feels like. This isn't about perfection. It's about process. So don't try to learn everything. Learn what works for you. Which pattern fits your pace? Which setup makes you feel in control? Which strategy lets you act, not guess? That's your job. Find it, then earn it. Through repetition, through journaling, through ruthless discipline. Because a setup is just the start. Execution is the skill. And that skill only grows if you protect your capital. That's why next, you learn the most important section of all, risk management. Because no setup survives if you don't manage your losses. Without risk management, even the best strategy will destroy you. Aziz shows how he survives and thrives with fixed dollar risk, risk-to-reward ratios, and predefined stops. Because in trading, survival isn't optional, it's everything. You've seen it. One trade goes red, and instead of cutting, you hold. Then you average down. Then the chart breaks. And just like that, a small mistake becomes a catastrophic one. Why? Because you didn't manage risk, you ignored it. Aziz doesn't let that happen. In How to Day Trade for a Living, he lays it out clearly. Your first job isn't to win. Your first job is to protect your capital, because if you don't survive, you don't get to play the next hand. So here's how he does it. First, fixed dollar risk. Aziz risks a set amount on each trade, say $100. That's it. No matter the stock, no matter the setup. The moment he enters a trade, he knows exactly what he's willing to lose. That creates clarity. Control. No improvisation. Second, risk-to-reward ratio. His goal is at least 2-to-1. That means if he risks $100, he aims to make $200. Not because it sounds good, but because math matters. If you only win half the time, but your wins are twice your losses, you're profitable. Period. This isn't theory. It's sustainability. It's the difference between a gambling mentality and a professional framework. Third, predefined stop losses. Before any trade, Aziz defines exactly where he'll exit if he's wrong. It could be a technical level, a break below VWAP, the loss of the 5-minute low, the rejection of resistance. The point is, he exits without hesitation. You've probably moved a stop before, given it room to breathe. Aziz calls that emotional risk. It's when your ego overrides your logic, and it's what kills accounts. Your job isn't to be right. Your job is to follow your risk plan without exception. And yes, it's hard. Your hands will hesitate. Your brain will scream. Maybe it'll bounce. Maybe it'll recover. But if your stop is triggered, you get out. Because consistency doesn't come from winning trades. It comes from controlling losses. Aziz shares how he once blew up his account early in his career. Not from bad setups, but from ignoring stops, from chasing, from letting small losses compound into despair. That pain taught him the one rule he never breaks now: always respect the stop. He also discusses position sizing. You don't pick a number and hope. You calculate it based on your risk. If you're risking $100 and your stop is 25 cents away, you can take 400 shares and not whatever feels right. Math, not emotion. This is how professionals trade. Every position is calibrated. Every trade is measured. There's no guesswork, no tilt, no hope. And here's the deeper benefit. Risk management creates emotional stability. When you know your downside, you don't panic. You don't flinch. You execute. And that psychological edge is what allows you to scale. Because trading isn't about avoiding losses. It's about making sure your losses never destroy you. Aziz even keeps a daily loss limit. If he's down a certain amount for the day, he walks. Game over. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's a trader protecting his long-term career. So here's your checklist. Know your fixed dollar risk before the trade. Only take trades with 2-1 or better reward potential. Set your stop before you enter and obey it. Size based on math, not hope. Cut the day if you hit your limit. That's how you stay in the game. That's how you build consistency. That's how you protect your edge. Because the next level isn't about more setups. It's about more clarity under pressure. That's where trading psychology takes over. And that's where we go next. Trading psychology isn't theory. It's the battlefield. Aziz walks you through the mental traps that sabotage your edge. FOMO, hesitation, overconfidence, and tilt. You don't just trade the market, you trade your own brain. You've been there. You see a stock ripping on volume. It wasn't on your watch list. It doesn't fit your plan, but you click buy anyway, afraid to miss the move. That's FOMO, fear of missing out. And it's the fastest way to throw your edge out the window. Aziz teaches that emotional discipline is more important than any indicator. Because even with the perfect setup, if you're not mentally centered, you'll execute poorly. You'll size too big, hesitate, skip the stop, chase the breakout, exit too early or too late. The mistake wasn't technical, it was emotional. Let's start with hesitation. This usually happens after a loss. You start second-guessing your next entry, even when the setup is clean. Aziz calls this mental scar tissue. It builds up if you don't review and reset. The solution? Trust your plan. Detach from outcome. Trade the process, not the last trade. Then there's tilt, emotional overload. One bad trade becomes 2, then 5. You spiral. You're not trading anymore. You're reacting. Aziz built a hard rule to break this. If I take 2 consecutive losses, I step away. I reset. Because trading on tilt doesn't cost you 1 trade. It costs your week. And what about overconfidence? You hit a big win. Now you feel untouchable. You size up. You take setups you normally skip. You think your intuition is on fire, but the market doesn't care how confident you feel. It punishes arrogance with precision. Aziz protects himself by scaling gradually, even after success. He doesn't jump from 300 shares to 3,000. He steps up in increments because growth is controlled, measured, earned. One of the most powerful ideas in the book is this: your biggest risk isn't your strategy, it's your state. The way you think, feel, and react determines your outcome more than your charts ever will. That's why Aziz journals emotions after every session. What triggered him? Where did fear creep in? What pattern gave him confidence? What moment caused doubt? He treats emotional patterns like technical ones. He studies them, labels them, tracks them, because awareness is the first step to control. Here's what you can do now. Rate your emotional state before and after every session. Write down moments of hesitation, fear, or overconfidence. Set triggers. If X happens, 2 losses, major win, high anxiety, do Y. Step away, cut size, reset. Review emotional trends weekly. What keeps showing up? This is how you become a self-aware trader, because you don't just need a plan for your trades. You need a plan for your mind. And once you build that, something powerful happens. You stop reacting. You start executing. Clean, focused, detached. That's what separates the gamblers from the professionals. The market is chaos, but your mind doesn't have to be. And when your mindset is steady, your performance becomes consistent. Now, it's time to turn that performance into improvement, because your next edge isn't on the chart, it's in your journal. That's what we explore next. Here is the rewritten Section 8 in flowing prose. Most traders don't review their trades. They move on, assuming the next one will be better, without ever pausing to understand what actually happened. But this is where amateurs stop and professionals begin. Aziz draws a hard line in the sand. If you don't journal, you don't grow. Not because journaling is some academic exercise, but because it's the fastest way to build the most important skill in trading: self-awareness. Journaling isn't about logging wins or losses. It's about breaking down you. What setup did you trade? Did you follow your plan? Where was the entry trigger? Was the stop logical, placed where the trade thesis would fail? Did you exit on your terms, or did emotion shove you out? These aren't just questions. They're mirrors. And they don't lie. Aziz treats journaling as a diagnostic tool. Each trade is a case study. Every screenshot becomes a scene of investigation. He marks his entry and exit. He annotates moments of hesitation, overconfidence, clarity. Over time, these notes become a map, not of markets, but of himself. You begin to see the same mistakes. You find your strengths. You see where fear shows up, where focus breaks, and where flow kicks in. Most traders make the same error dozens of times, simply because they never slowed down to name it. Aziz doesn't let that slide. He teaches that your edge isn't just in the pattern, it's in your ability to execute it consistently. And if you can't see what's breaking that consistency, you'll never fix it. This is how feedback becomes performance. The daily journal turns into a feedback loop, a reflection device, a training tool. You don't need to spend hours. Even 20 to 30 minutes a day builds the muscle. You log the trade, the reason, the risk, the feeling, the result. And then you learn. Aziz recommends weekly reviews. Sit down, read your notes, spot your behavioral trends. What setups do you execute best? Which ones shake your confidence? Which mistakes keep repeating? Adjust from that, not from your mood, but from evidence. The best traders aren't the most clever. They're the most aware. And journaling is the discipline that gives awareness form. It shows you who you are, not who you think you are. Once you commit to this process, trading changes. The charts don't just reflect price, they reflect you. Every trade becomes more deliberate, more accountable, and more valuable. Because if you're not learning from your trades, you're just gambling with memory. But when you document them, you create your personal playbook. You build pattern recognition, not just in setups, but in yourself. And that's when consistency becomes possible. Scaling in trading isn't about becoming aggressive. It's about becoming refined. You don't get to size up because you've had a few green days or feel like you're on a hot streak. You scale when your process is airtight, your execution is calm, and your emotional stability has been battle-tested. That's what Aziz teaches. Sizing up is a reward for consistency, not a shortcut to it. Every trader wants to make more money. That desire is natural. But in trading, desire without discipline is dangerous. When you scale before you're ready, everything gets magnified. The emotional swings, the hesitation, the mistakes. A minor slip-up at 300 shares might be manageable. At 1,000 shares, that same mistake hits like a freight train. Aziz compares the process of scaling to progressive resistance in strength training. You don't throw extra plates on the bar just because you feel strong one day. You increase gradually after demonstrating perfect form under current weight. That's the same logic applied to trading. You don't scale just because your account grew. You scale because you've proven across dozens of trades that you can handle the pressure without breaking protocol. So what does that look like in practice? Aziz begins by tracking trade execution across a consistent sample, usually 20 to 30 trades. He's not just looking for profitability, he's looking for adherence to process. Were entries clean, stops honored, exits timed according to plan, emotions logged and understood? If those answers are yes, then and only then, he allows the next size increment. This isn't about doubling up. It's about increasing exposure in small, methodical jumps, 100 or 200 shares at a time. The goal is to introduce just enough stress to test your response without destabilizing your performance. Because make no mistake, size is stress. And when stress enters the system, your habits either hold or they break. Aziz never changes more than one variable at a time. If he's scaling size, he doesn't add new setups. He doesn't switch his platform. He doesn't experiment with new markets. Everything else stays static, so he can isolate whether he's truly ready for more risk. If performance deteriorates, he immediately dials it back, because protecting capital always comes before expanding it. Another principle Aziz enforces is fixed dollar risk. You might be increasing your share count, but your risk per trade must remain consistent. Let's say you risk $100 per trade. That should hold steady whether your stop is 25 cents away at 400 shares or 50 cents away at 200 shares. The point is not to grow your losses, it's to test your capacity to manage risk with more capital in play. And this is where emotional clarity becomes critical. Aziz emphasizes that if your heart races or your hands shake when trading a larger position, you're not ready. That reaction isn't confidence, it's anxiety. And anxiety clouds execution. That's why emotional review remains vital. After every size increase, Aziz reviews his performance, not just by P&L, but by behavior. Did he skip rules? Did he cut trades too early or let losers run? Did his mindset shift under pressure? These answers determine if he holds size, increases again, or steps back. Most traders scale too fast. They hit a green streak, their confidence spikes, and they think more size means more success. But what really happens? They overexpose themselves. One oversized trade wipes out a week's work. Then they panic, they deviate, they spiral. Aziz prevents that spiral with structure. Structure removes decision fatigue. It limits the role of emotion. It ensures that scaling is not a reaction to excitement, but a response to proven consistency. Scaling also has to align with your lifestyle. More size requires more recovery, more focus, more detailed journaling. Aziz prepares mentally for size increases with the same rigor he prepares technically. Because a bigger trader isn't just more profitable, they're more accountable. So don't ask, when can I scale? Ask, have I earned the right to scale? Have you executed flawlessly at your current size? Can you take 10 losses in a row and still follow your rules? Are your entries and exits clean, not lucky? Are your emotions steady, not suppressed? That's when you're ready. Not when you're excited. Not when you're desperate. But when your process says, you've earned this. Aziz scaled that way, one increment at a time, under full control. And now he trades with size because he built the discipline first. So build it, scale slow, monitor everything. Because if your size goes up but your behavior cracks, you're not growing, you're gambling. Scale when you've become the trader who deserves it, not before. Everyone wants to day trade for a living until they see what it takes. Aziz reveals the truth behind the lifestyle. Early mornings, emotional labor, daily discipline. It's not a dream job, it's a craft, and it demands your full self. You've seen the fantasy, the palm trees, the laptops, the green P&L screenshots. But what you haven't seen is what Aziz shows you, the 4:30 a.m. alarms, the back-to-back red days, the hours spent reviewing, journaling, resetting your mind for another round of uncertainty. This isn't freedom by default. It's freedom earned through structure. Aziz says plainly, trading for a living is one of the hardest jobs you can choose because there's no ceiling and no floor, no boss to blame, no paycheck to save you. You are your edge. You are your capital. You are your mindset. And every day you start from zero. That's the trade-off. Unlimited upside, but only if you bring full accountability. There are no sick days, no shortcuts, just you, the market, and the mirror you face afterward. Aziz admits it. Trading will test you. It'll expose every flaw in your patience, your greed, your need for validation. It will beat you down and hand you a lesson in the form of a red candle. And if you're not ready to build your identity around discipline, review, and relentless process, you won't last. But if you are, then trading offers something extraordinary. Autonomy. You choose your hours. You choose your system. You choose how much risk you take, how much growth you pursue, how deep you go into this craft. Aziz built that life, but not because he got lucky, because he built structure, because he faced the truth and did the work, because he stopped chasing the dream and started living the discipline. So what does a real trading lifestyle look like? It looks like planning your day before the market opens, like reviewing every trade, not just the ones you win, like managing your health, your emotions, your habits, so you can show up clear, like building systems, rituals, and mindset boundaries that let you perform under pressure. It's not glamorous, it's not passive, but it's yours. And that's the point. This path isn't for everyone. But if it's for you, If you're willing to master yourself, not just your charts, then you don't just day trade for a living. You live like a trader. You think in risk units. You breathe discipline. You live inside your edge. Aziz closes with this: day trading is not easy, but it's worth it. That's the mindset, not to win fast, but to build a career, a craft, a rhythm of life that reflects who you really are when no one's watching. So stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start building the trader you want to be, one decision, one session, one review at a time. And the market? It won't care who you are, but it will reward what you do if you show up for it every day. Now let's bring it home. You've seen the path. You've walked through the mindset, the tools, the setups, the discipline. Aziz didn't promise you a dream. He handed you a blueprint, one rooted in structure, repetition, accountability, and growth. This isn't about getting rich quick. It's about building a life where your income reflects your execution, not your hours. A life of autonomy, earned through preparation, risk management, emotional control, and constant review. You're not here to trade randomly. You're here to trade deliberately, to build a daily process, to treat each session like a performance, to get better with every entry, win or lose. So here's your next move. Pick one part of this video and apply it. Build your morning routine, practice one setup, journal your next 5 trades, control your size, show up tomorrow with intention. Because day trading isn't a hack, it's a craft. If this breakdown gave you clarity, like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth content on trading psychology, performance, and process. Share this with someone who's still stuck chasing the next big win. You don't need another indicator. You need better habits. Start now. Trade like it matters, because it does.